Hit it.
So we just finished reading Oedipus Rex for homework. We just took a quiz, so let's see how you guys all did. Can someone tell me how the story ended up? What happens to Oedipus at the end?
He wanders blind in a desert.
Yes, well that's where he's headed. He's blind though. How does he end up blind? Or why does he blind himself? What is he?
A terrible discovery.
Oh, what?
There's a terrible discovery.
A charitable discovery.
A terrible discovery.
Terrible. Okay. What does he figure out? What has he done?
He married and had children with his own mother.
Yes.
Killed his father.
And he killed his father. How does someone do that without realizing it? So he had no idea. He has to discover this, which is the tragic point of the play. Does anyone remember? How does it happen that he has no idea that this is what he's done?
He was orphaned.
Wasn't he like sent out? Like he was like sent out from the city at one point.
Yes, so his parents knew the prophecy that their son was going to kill the father and marry the mother. So they abandoned the child at birth. Well, they thought they had sent him out to be killed, but turns out the person who took the child had pity on him and sent him to be raised with different people. He thought that those were his parents. He heard the prophecy, so he said, I need to run away from these people. And he meets his father and mother, his actual father and mother, without realizing it. It's a pretty brutal story, isn't it? Oedipus is sort of known. You hear people talk about the Oedipus complex. He's a famous character because this is a really striking story in a lot of brutal ways. But it's sometimes seen as the greatest of all tragedies. Aristotle in his Poetics, a really famous work, really remarkable work, talks about the sort of essential qualities of tragedy, and he considers Oedipus Rex as the greatest of all tragedies. When we talk about tragedies now, what do we consider? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Sad, death. Pretty standard. If you watch a tragic movie, you expect to cry. That's all there is to it. Comedy, first thing that comes to mind. Humor, funny. You laugh, has a happy ending maybe. It's pretty simplistic, and I think in modern terms those are all there is to the definition. But in classical terms, tragedy is a lot more complex. There's a lot more essential characteristics to it. So I will put a couple of terms up here on the board. Essential things to tragedy, as Aristotle sees it, and there are a lot of tragedies in classical time, a lot of plays performed up on stage. A lot of people from the highest class to the lowest are watching tragedies. So essential things to look for. You got to have a tragic hero. And this isn't so far from what you see in tragedies now, with main characters, someone the story is focused on, right? But sort of essential to classical tragedy is this Greek term, hamartia. This comes from it's a term from archery. It means to miss the mark. So if you're thinking of archery, you shoot, you miss the mark. It's the way it's sort of defined now and in tragedy is an error of judgment. It's not a tragic flaw. You know, we talk about hubris, someone is prideful or something like that. It's not a vice. It's a tragic error of judgment. What could you tell me what Oedipus' tragic error of judgment in these terms? What would be his error of judgment?
Leaving his family, like the ones that raised him, or like killing his father, marrying his mother.
Yeah. So it's a combination of personal fault and of fate. We know that fate plays a really strong role in the play. Yes?
If he knew the prophecy, he was chosen never to kill anybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
If someone tells you you're going to kill your father, you could run away from your parents, sure. Or you could think about controlling your anger so you don't kill anyone. Okay, so hamartia. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's not a vice. It's an error of judgment. And this is going to be essential to the downfall of a tragic hero. The other thing I want to talk about is catharsis. Does anyone know what catharsis is? Anyone heard this term before? Yes.
It's a great release of emotion.
Yes. Release of pity and fear, usually. Those would be sort of key terms. And who's releasing those emotions? Characters in the play? Yep, there's pity involved, and you'll see in the chorus expresses a lot of pity. They love their king. If he's a good guy, you're going to feel a lot of pity when he makes his error of judgment. but it's you. You're the ones that are going to feel catharsis. This is about the audience. If you're going to have a really, Aristotle says if you're going to have a really good tragedy, this is about what it's going to teach the audience, how the audience is going to feel and react. This is a public spectacle. People are going to come and watch this. It matters how people are going to react to it, what people are going to take away from it. In its essence, a tragedy is a moral story. So it matters what moral you're going to tell. Okay, so 3 things I want to go over are what Aristotle considers bad plots for tragedy. And this will help us see why he thinks Oedipus makes for the best tragic hero. The first bad plot would be a good man. Your tragic hero is a good man. Falls from happiness to misery. So, you want to give me a story, something like that? This is like the Job story.
King Lear was not good.
A little more complex, but just in theory, this is your good person, someone you like, someone who's always there, a good person, a good friend, and then suddenly he gets really sick. His parents die. You know, bad things happen to him. Why would this be a bad plot for a tragedy?
Talking about like maybe Joseph, Jacob's son.
Sorry?
Joseph, Jacob's son. He's
Yeah. So why would that be a bad plot for a tragedy? At least the beginning part of the story, where he's a good guy and
yeah, he's
terrible things
good.
happen
He's
to him.
the most liked son, and then he gets thrown into the pit.
Mm-hmm. So why would Aristotle say that's a bad plot for a tragedy?
Is it too simple? Is it not human? Like no one's purely good, no one's purely bad?
That's something to it. You want a complex character for sure, but what's the moral of this story?
There's
Even
Bad
if you're
things
good.
can happen to anybody.
Yeah. So if you're the audience and you're watching this play, when you're gonna walk away, you say, even if I'm a good person, terrible things are gonna happen to me. How does it teach you to act? It either teaches you to do bad things for the alternative to happen to you, or there's just no moral to the story, right? Okay, how about the plot where a bad person, I say man, but it could be anyone, and in classical tragedy it would be a man, but he rises from misery or hard times to happiness. Somebody give me an example of a story like this, just hypothetically.
A murderer wins the lottery, and he was
Exactly.
forever happy.
Why is that a bad? This is pretty straightforward. Why is that a bad plot for a tragedy?
Also, it does not communicate a good message to the audience.
Yeah, what's the message?
You do whatever you want.
Do what you want. Good things will happen to you. You'll be rewarded for killing people, for being dishonest, things like that. So, bad plot number 2. Now, number 3 is a little bit more complicated. This is where things get interesting. Aristotle says it is a bad tragedy if you have a very bad man. There's nothing likable about him, no virtue. Falls from happiness to misery. It's a little bit tricky. Why would you have, if someone was totally bad through and through, why would this be a bad plot?
It's not tragic. That's a good ending.
Good answer. Bingo. It's not tragic. The guy gets what he deserves. That's all there is to it. How do you feel when that happens? Someone you dislike through the whole movie, the whole play, the whole book, he just gets what he deserves.
Feel good.
You feel good. Yeah. There's no sad element, and this is what is missing. There's no cathartic moment, right? Because who feels pity for that person? No one. So Oedipus, Aristotle says, is the perfect tragedy because we have none of these scenarios. How would you characterize Oedipus? Does anyone remember the beginning of the play? Thebes is suffering, everyone's sick, there's a disease going around. And Oedipus cares. He's there for his people. He's intent on finding out the truth, which is how he ends up finding out about himself. But he cares. He's a good king. We like him, right? And that's why we feel pity for him at the end. So we need to have a complicated character, and we need to have a moment of catharsis, because that's what the moral story is all about. It makes you reflect on how you're supposed to act, and you feel fear. You feel fear. It's not just pity, you feel fear, because you are someone like Oedipus. You're trying to be a good person, but you may make an error of judgment. So how do you walk out of the play? If you feel this pity and fear, is it going to change the way you act?
Totally.
Yeah.
Don't murder people.
Well, don't murder people, but you be cautious, you know? It makes you think about your morals, the decisions that you make.
So is Oedipus supposed to be neutral? Like he's not good, he's not bad. I mean, he's doing good things, but he's not good, he's not bad. Because I guess how is it different from good man, false man?
He's not totally good, right? Because we have this, we have the hemlock tree.
So anytime you make an error of judgment, that makes in these stories that you're no longer good.
It's not that you're no longer good. You want to be a good person. It's not black and white, right? We talked about a complex character.
Okay, sure.
But we need to see virtue in the character. We need to be able to relate to the character like him and feel like he's like ourselves. But there's an error of judgment, you know, something that causes him some misstep, some act where we can see why he would fall. But it's not so unreasonable, he's not so bad that we can't relate to him.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Does.
Great.